I'm just not, I don't feel the chemistry.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Blackbird 91. I think we've got a very important video to drop today. We're talking about Juan and Karla. Now, I actually kind of lost interest in them towards the end of the show, but I went back through the episodes of the season. I said, I must answer this question. On the last panel that we did yesterday night, we read a letter, or sorry, I should say, read his comment response on It Takes Two YouTube. Shout out to them as well because they do some great work and great uh, episodes, breakdowns as well, right? He released a comment on that particular page where he addressed certain issues as to why, from his perspective, it didn't work out of Karla. And I must say, I actually agree with a lot of the things that he said. And I actually think we need to look deeper into those issues. Why? Because actually we mentioned a lot of these things over the past few weeks, that some of these behaviors were going to be something that would turn a person off. I think it would actually turn a lot of men off because it's more than just actually being about not cooking or not cleaning, which, by the way, both men and women should really be learning how to cook. You're an adult. But when there is aspects of personality, when there's aspects of behavior, when there is things that are making us incompatible, things like spirituality, which actually is a huge compatibility issue. As a Christian, I would have never married a Muslim. I never married somebody who's into crystals, right? If I'm an atheist, you may not want to marry somebody who is a Christian or someone who is into crystals because for you, you have your own spiritual belief, which is none. So compatibility, that's a major compatibility issue. In fact, that alone should end the relationship there. So then the bigger question would probably be then, why did the relationship continue if that is a compatibility issue? And that's a different story. And that one, I have to say, Juan has taken some accountability. Well, and as well, Karla too. And the question is, did he tell her? And by the looks of it, he did, because we saw this on the end of the episodes towards the judgment day, towards decision day, where she spoke about the spirituality. And I actually have a clip, but I don't have the sound on it, so I do apologize. But they spoke on it on decision day, and she mentioned about how this shouldn't be an issue, but it is an issue because spirituality is a big thing. So I'm going to read his letter, then I'm going to produce some clips, then I'm going to add some commentary onto it as to why these points are actually very important. I believe that Juan is not a problem here. I'm not even going to say that Karla necessarily is a problem. I'm going to say this, that I think he was entitled to say no. I think he should have said no. I think there was no way this was going to work because they weren't compatible, number one. And number two, there were certain things that she had did or she was doing that were not conducive to this particular relationship. I think if she finds the right kind of person, it could work. But for one, it wasn't going to work. And for that particular purpose, I think he made the right decision, and I think they both made the right decision. So let's go back a little bit. Before we do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notifications of the uploads. We've got to have a real conversation today. Let's go back to the very beginning because I think this is a really important conversation.
Expectations of that.
So at the moment, I need Karla to work just because I have a startup. It's anything like that type of situation, but we both have to contribute.
Karla staying at home and taking care of the children.
We know that Juan, for his perspective, his mom, his dad, they told her, listen, Juan needs someone who's going to work. Okay? We knew that already. And that was a massive, massive thing. So then why is that something that is going to be very important? Well, because we know that Karla just not didn't up and quit. She actually got let go. Okay? And from his particular letter, I'll actually read what he actually says here. He says, next, I noticed that she let her lease run out, and I actually helped her move all her stuff to a storage unit. I get it because she saved on rent, but for the purpose of the experiment showing responsibility and stability, not the best move. If somebody says that they need someone in their relationship to be financially stable, right? They need that kind of person, and you get somebody who's not financially stable, guess what? Fear is going to creep in. In fact, I wouldn't want to put that on any man or woman. This is not even about men or women. This is simply about people. Like you wouldn't want that particular person in your life. If you're looking for financial stability from a partner and they are instantly showing you, when you don't even really know them that well, that they're financially unstable, yeah, you should run. I think you should absolutely run. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, you should run because more than likely that behavior is probably going to continue later on. They're going to be unstable in other ways. And she was, because she quit. She didn't even quit. She got let go. And I think when I don't really know you like that, I don't have a baseline for you, I'm going to be a little bit concerned, right? And so then obviously you've got a house that you let go of the lease. What signal could that send to somebody? Well, actually that could send to somebody that maybe you're not actually, again, you're not stable again, right? And there's a bigger issue at play here, okay? So that lack of stability is for a lifelong partner is very concerning when you're trying to build a family and build generational wealth. Now, of course, again, Karla's free to do whatever she wants to do. I'm not saying that's a massive crazy thing if she wants to live a life on the solo. But when you want to live it with somebody, you're going to have to take into stock these ideas, right? So she lost her job due to a work dispute. Someone has to ask, what was the dispute, right? So again, long-term planning when it comes to finances is a major thing. Okay. Number two, I think there's a physical attraction issue. Although he was attracted, that was not his type again, right? And actually, I kind of spoke about it with Dr. Pia as well.
So,
Yeah,
like,
but
if
I'm
you
not
don't,
there yet.
No, wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that? Her and not
Yeah,
you. I'm asking,
me.
what is that spice about?
Oh, I didn't even realize. If the physical attraction isn't there, like, I don't think that's.
So the physical attraction wasn't there in the sense of that he does find her beautiful, but he's not physically attracted because she's not his type. And I've said this from time and time and time again. Men are not going to grow in physical attraction. It's not going to happen. If they're not physically attracted, it ain't going to happen. Let's stop pretending like it does. For most men, it won't change, right? They either find you attractive or they don't. And then after that, they don't want to do anything else. This is why I actually really like what Juan did, because on top of the fact that he didn't find her necessarily physically attractive, what he ended up doing was saving her. Because in reality, what he could have done was ended up having sex, getting physically intimate, and then her catching feelings. And actually, at first, I was lambasting him because I was like, some of the exercises that they did, for instance, they did a yoga exercise. It wasn't Kama Sutra. It was to tantric yoga, right? And some of the poses. And I said, why do you choose the poses that were not very intimate, right? I thought he wasn't just trying. No, he was not trying. Absolutely, he wasn't trying. But the reality of the situation is, if I don't like you like that, I don't want to drag you into a place where you're going to feel like you have a chance. And if I do that, then I'm irresponsible because I'm now dragging your heart into a space that I'm not there yet. And I'm not going to be there. Now, the question really then pens, and I think this is where accountability again hits one, and I'll mention this a little bit later on, is did you tell her enough behind the scenes to let her know? Because on camera, we got bits of it, but we didn't get all of it. Okay? All right? So that's another issue. So I do appreciate the fact that he was thinking about, hey, let me not drag this girl into that space because her heart's on the line and I'm not there, and this is going to be irresponsible. Okay? The next thing also is around her passive aggressiveness, right? In the way that she addressed issues. And actually, it's funny because actually there was more than one of those situations. We saw that obviously when they had the issue of he forgot about her and she kind of, went to punish him as well for it. And I said that was a problem. That anybody punishing somebody when they don't get it right and they miss that who wants to be around people like that, right? Nobody wants to be around people like that. I don't want to be around people like that. That leads to vindictive and unhealthy relationships. But aside that, he actually mentions
Karla because she is
I'm sorry.
Karla's passive aggressiveness and strong spirituality were definitely things that I had to get used to.
He never got over it. The passive aggressiveness, he never got over it. Now, can Juan chat about passive aggressive? No, because he's passive aggressive in aspects too. But the reality of the situation, he didn't like that. That's what he did not want. And so in that space of her passive aggressive behaviors, this is something that would have turned him off. And because he mentions it actually after they had the issue when the swimming pool situation, right? He mentions it to her, and because they had dinner and they had a conversation about it, and then later on they had a conversation in the bedroom. I went back to watch it, episode 5. Go watch it. They actually mention it around that aspect. So that was also another major issue. Another thing that he mentioned was the cooking and the cleaning.
And this was when the cartels were like a big deal. When did you start cosmetology school?
Graduated high school in June, and I went in July.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
You want anything?
Now, women complain about men not pulling their household weight and know how painful it is. So I can actually understand why one also too might have felt a little bit of pain. And it's not, again, it's about the fact that people want partnership. So it doesn't mean that the person has to do as much sometimes, but it is the amount or even the ability to be able to help. So for instance, in this instance, right, we saw Alan cooking with Madison. Alan seems to be cooking a little bit, right? In this instance, we see Juan, and he says himself that it was like 70% of him cooking a majority of the meals. And it was him doing a lot of the cleaning as well. And that's really interesting because I went back to another episode and he mentions something very funny.
I just let the toilet paper roll, sit there. Really? How about the dishes? Like if I left dishes in the sink?
They'd
Be
probably,
honest,
honestly, I would probably do it like a couple of times,
Would you communicate?
Now, it's funny because obviously I cut out a little bit, so you'd have missed it. The first one was asking about toilet paper, if I left it behind or whatever, or they run out of toilet paper, what would you do? She said, "I'll just leave it for you. You got to sort it out." And I didn't clock that until now when I went back to watch it. I was like, "Oh, that's not really partnership." And I see because I already know what he wants. He wants someone who's going to partner with him, right? Someone who's going to work alongside him. Someone who's also going to understand that. Listen, we are a team in all of this, right? So if we're not I'm not going to say no. If we're not cooking as much, or at least seemingly it seems like a partnership in that area, and the cleaning, you can feel robbed in that area. And again, that's not going to make you feel very confident about the relationship that you're actually in. So that's another major point that he actually mentions. And I know that the way he asked when he said, be honest, he was actually fishing. He was, and that's what I'm saying about being passive aggressive. He was fishing, right? So he was fishing for an answer to see, and in his head, he's making a judgment. Now, whether he told her, again, we'll just address that a little bit later on, about whether that has to be accountable. He has to be accountable for that, because if she doesn't really know, then she don't know, right? If she don't know, what can she do? Okay. Another thing was about, and I mentioned this about the physicality, but
I feel like there was like a lack of care of what like my plans were, even making like plans together, of affection in so many other ways. There was no like physical touch, whether that was like a hug coming.
The physical touch aspect, I understand why he didn't do it either. Because again, all of these behaviors are misleading. As somebody who's been an emotional F-boy, and a physical F-boy, and a sexual F-boy, you listen, all those things are going to lead somebody on. It's as simple as that, right? If he starts trying to touch too much, hug too much, doing all those anything that are physical and emotional at the same time, that she will start feeling some type of way, right? And you don't want to do that when you don't actually care enough and you don't actually want her, right? So you place them in a very dangerous position. So I can understand why he kept a distance, because I don't like you like that. And he has every right to have that particular boundary. And I agree actually with her boundary. And I said it before, I don't know why he wants to be friends with her at the end, right? I don't know why he wants to be friends, unless these guys have been friends for the whole show. And if that's the case, why is she complaining? So there's some aspect of discrepancy in the situation. He wants to be friends. She complained about him being friends, but then they are friends now. We know that already because we watched a reunion. But there were some issues on how she felt about the situation. I think she felt she could have got more out of the situation from him. And I hear it. He just wasn't willing to give it because he wasn't involved. He wasn't feeling her like that. And I don't want anyone to do that, because you're going to draw the person in. But of course, if you find him attractive, then try. If you don't find him attractive, you're wasting your time. And I know that with men, you're wasting your time. We are not growing in any attraction. It's not going to happen. Now, this is really interesting, this part as well.
Because I could play like, yes, going to the gym, but it's like, oh, I'm going to the gym at 6 in the morning. Like, do you want to come? Share that interest with someone. You can check in with that person, be like, what time does the gym work?
Now she's gone on to say, and I had to cut it off because it's going to go past the time limit. She's gone on to say, you can check in with that person to find out, it does gym work for you? And I said, why couldn't you do the exact same thing? Why does he have to change his schedule? Both of you are inflexible here. Why does he have to change? He goes to gym twice a day. So why couldn't you choose the second time, which was evening? He goes in the evening time at 9 p.m. Goes from evening time till 9 p.m. So why couldn't Karla, who was getting up at 1 p.m., okay, 1 p.m., get up and say, okay, you know what, you're going gym at evening time. I'll go gym with you at the evening time. Why does he have to shift it again to make it fit what you got going on? Why can't you? There's 2 times he goes. Why can't she fit into? And they were both inflexible. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Right? If he goes twice. Now the other thing also, in that particular aspect, again, okay, he gets up at 6 a.m. Why can't you get up at 6 a.m.? If you were getting up at 1 p.m. in the middle of the day, why can't you get up at 6 a.m., go to the gym, come back, sleep? So everybody's been inflexible, right? It's not just on Juan that him being inflexible. Both people are being inflexible in that aspect. But that's neither here or there, because I'm talking more about Juan as well. As you heard him say, obviously her passive aggressiveness, that's something that he mentioned. And my last thing is also is the work ethic that he has is very
Just
different.
let the toilet paper roll.
Wrong clip. His work ethic, and I wonder if I have that particular clip.
Working out, so I usually do 2 workouts. So I'll wake up in the morning. I'll usually do like either like cycling, swimming. I have a small like millwork company, so I'll usually like bid a job in the morning before I start my regular job, and then.
So he's quite a busy person, quite regimented, and I think that was going to be very difficult anyway, because his regiment would have to work with somebody who also wants to be regimented. Otherwise, if you're not regimented, you're not going to fit in his schedule, and that's something he has to work around, because he's a little bit rigid in that particular aspect. That he has to allow for room to maneuver and to be able to allow the person in as well. Okay. Now, what was the key thing, and I'm going to go back to the original clip we just played, is about spirituality.
Karla, because she is a.
I'm sorry.
Karla's passive aggressiveness and strong spirituality were definitely things that I had to get used to.
Gonna clean the energies.
So the spirituality is a massive issue. It's actually foundational. If you have different spiritualities, that is a foundational issue. It cannot be solved. No one's about to change their faith. Well, some people might do. There is no marriage after that. Once you realize you're on different spiritual levels, there is no faith. Like I've heard Pastor Kyle trying to say, like, you could have worked it around, like, you don't have to be the same. No, you do have to be the same. It's like we had a conversation about politics. The values are going to be completely different. It's very difficult. But even that, some people have done it. But when it comes to faith, yeah, some people have done it. But it depends how strong you are. And he realized how deep she was. And I wish I could play that clip because she actually said once she started showing him how deep she was in her spirituality, that's actually when he decided to turn off. And he actually mentions that his brother is involved in spirituality. His mom is into tarot reading cards, but she's Catholic. But for him, he's not. And I said, well, that concludes it then. That's the end. Now, here's my accountability. These clips are also mentioned, but how many of these issues were brought up before the experts? That's my issue, right? Those things could be worked out. Now, I definitely understand that the spirituality would have been the ball game end of. And to be honest, there is no marriage after that. But a lot of these issues that were mentioned in the confessions, everything like that, weren't really seen with the experts. Because I think there's still some work that Juan could have done that could have really helped him, even if it wasn't for Karla. He could have helped himself. But because both Karla and him, but more him than Karla, way more to him than Karla, and saying everything was cool, we didn't get to see those growth moments. So I do believe that Juan did a great job in making sure he didn't drag her to a place where she herself personally would have to be catching feelings. Okay, I think he did a great job. He made sure he ministered to that and made sure she was safe. I think he did a great job in not trying to drag her in that space. I think he did a great job not trying to disparage her. I think the comment that he made after, I think the reason why he made it after is because, again, a lot of times maybe, saying these points of views may made you look a certain way. But he should have said it. That's the passive aggressiveness. He should have said it. So the very thing he labeled against her, against being passive aggressive, I believe he also carries the exact same energy, right? It just shows up in a very different way. Because these things should have been mentioned to the experts so we fully know what it was. But again, like I said, he's mentioned some of them. That's why I was able to find clips on the particular show. Now, one thing that was also interesting is
I think Karla's very attractive, and I think she's very fun. She's very cool. Physical expectations, as far as like the sexual expectations of the relationship, let's not jump the gun.
We've had
Nah, he ain't, let's be honest, he ain't jumping the gun because he knew that he wasn't fully attracted to her and he wasn't his type. And your type can make you break all types of rules. I've always said this. Your type will make you break all sorts of rules. Rules are made for people we don't like. Men and women do it. Rules are made oftentimes for men and women we don't like. Would he have cared spiritually if he really was her type? Maybe, maybe not. But more than likely, yes, he would have because it's foundational. It's a massive issue. Look, I think there is some things that one can improve on, I'm sure, because every human can. I don't think he's that bad. I think he did a great job. I think he actually he comported himself very, very well. I would have wished he would have said some more because obviously with the experts would have helped him grow. And that opportunity for Karla to also understand where he's coming from. If he never said any of this stuff to her off camera, then we've got a huge problem. Juan, that's what we need to know. What did you say any of this stuff to her off camera? Because that will make a determining factor. If she knows all of these points, then fair play. If she doesn't, then you got to really hold yourself accountable because you can have all these points after, but you can't have them after and not be telling the person. Then that is a robbery because they didn't know. You know what I'm saying to you? Apart from being passive aggressive and spirituality. But hey, listen, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna let you guys, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are as well. I think Juan is a decent person. I think he comported himself very well, and I think he, made sure that he wasn't going to be disrespectful in that aspect. These are deal breakers. The spirituality one's a deal breaker for me personally. And I wonder if that was the same for him as well, because he gets a mention in it. But let me know your thoughts down below. It'd be good to hear you. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again